Today, we'll discuss about the molecular diagnostics and point-of-care testing, the market growth of molecular diagnostics and latest technology trends and growth opportunities in the molecular diagnostics and related point-of-care diagnostics. So, how do we define molecular diagnostics? These are one of the IVD methods that detect molecular material such as DNA, RNA, or proteins within the samples such as blood, saliva, or tumor tissue to diagnose or identify diseases and infections. And these tests provide critical insights into molecular mechanisms of the disease, aiding in personalized medicine and targeted therapies. Of course, most of the MDX molecular diagnostic devices are based off DNA or RNA testing, and there are few devices which are being developed for protein. But most of our presentation will focus on the genetic material, DNA and RNA testing and related molecular diagnostics market. So why molecular diagnostics? They offer increased sensitivity and accuracy, enable earlier diagnosis, faster results than traditional methods, can identify horticulture microorganisms which cannot be readily detected through conventional microbiological tests, and additionally these MDX tests support multiplex testing several pathogens in a real time at one time and helps in identification of genetic markers. If you try to understand the market for MDX, the market is about 25 billion in 2023, which is around 25% or 25% of the total IVD market. The market has grown in double digits in the historic period, and the market for molecular diagnostics is expected to grow again close to 9 to 10% in the forecast period until 2028-2030. The IVD market has grown around 6 to 7% in the historic period from 2019 to 2023, much lower in terms of growth rate compared to the MDX market. In forecast as well, the MDX market will grow near to 10%, where the IVD market is expected to grow around 5.6%. So more money when companies invest in molecular diagnostics than traditional diagnostics, in simple terms. The drivers of the market include increasing prevalence of infectious diseases and cancer, advances in cutting-edge technologies in molecular diagnostic testing, global screening initiatives by public and private organizations, and growing demand for personalized medicine and precision oncology. When we try to understand the MDX market by region, North America holds 40% of the market, mainly due to significant investments in MDX research, high adoption of the MDX technology such as PCR, next generation sequencing, and favorable reimbursement process. Europe follows North America with close to 30% of the market, again driven by increasing healthcare expenditure and advancement in diagnostic technology. Collaborative efforts between academics and hospitals further enhance market dynamics in the Europe region. Japan, holding around 20% of the market share, is expected to grow at a faster rate in forecast period compared to the developed regions, North America and Europe, mainly due to increased investments in MDX diagnostic, increased awareness of personalized medicine, and also specifically significant rise of infectious diseases and genetic disorders within the package. Rest of the world holds around 10% of the market. And some of the regions, such as MENA, Middle East, and MENA region, has a significant higher predisposition for genetic diseases and cancer, driving the market for the MDX technology. To try to understand the current disease areas that could be tested using molecular diagnostic technologies, around 60% of the market for MDX is for infectious diseases. And MDX tests are developed for respiratory infections and other infectious diseases such as HIV, hepatitis, malaria, and sexually transmitted infections. So the reason why infectious diseases hold majority of or why most MDX tests are being used for infectious disease testing is traditionally the infectious diseases are tested through microbial culturing which is based on morphological characteristics of microorganisms. It is less sensitive or less specificity, but and also a high turnaround time of 2 to 3 days. Of course, immunological methods such as ELISA are also being developed, but it has less sensitivity. Also, molecular diagnostics, which has a very quick turnaround time and high sensitivity and specificity, helps in rapid detection of these infectious diseases, and hence uh, uh, MDX have penetrated much for infectious diseases testing. Oncology follows infectious disease with around 20% of the market. The molecular diagnostic tests are not only used for diagnosis, but also being used for risk assessment, prognosis, and therapy management of various cancers. So these MDX tests are used to understand whether a person has a predisposition to a specific cancer based on the genomic analysis. The MDX are also used to understand the progression of a disease based on specific treatment regimen. And many genes have are being tested to understand the cancer, either diagnosis or prognosis, such as cervical cancers, HPV, BRCA genes, EDF or HER2 genes. So these have become gold standard now to understand various cancer therapies and cancer diagnostics. Around 15% of the market for MDX include prenatal testing in the chromosomal abnormalities such as trisomy, Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, and others. Increasing applications of MDX are found to understand mutations in metabolic genes and to understand metabolic disorders such as phenylketonuria and diabetes. MDX also plays a crucial role in detecting autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. Pharmacogenetics is one major domain where a lot of research of MDX is currently going on to understand the genetic makeup of the individuals and their response to therapy. To try to understand what the major players are currently working on in molecular diagnostic, or what are the various molecular diagnostic platforms being developed, or one much of the research is for neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's. Companies are working toward expanding the oncology indications such as multiple myeloma. Companies are working to find new MDX tests for infectious viral diseases such as monkeypox, pediatric tuberculosis, and of course, most companies have MDX platforms in their pipeline related to women's health and reproductive health, and testing various contagious viral infections or novel strains of influenza virus. So these are all the emerging disease areas where most of the major MDX players are focusing on and developing their MDX platforms. Next, if you try to understand the MDX market by technology, PCR, of course, PCR polymerase chain reaction based platforms, based devices constitute around 65% of the market in terms of volume, mainly because of its robustness and that could be used for amplifying any target gene. The variations of PCR, such as real-time PCR, quantitative PCR, and digital PCR, are being used. Some of the prominent products include products from Abbott, BD, and Danaher. Next generation sequencing, highly specific and sensitive, and can help in comprehensive genomic analysis. Currently holds around 12% of the market by volume. Companies are developing different sequencing technologies such as Illumina, Oxford, and more TrackBio, developing different sequencing technologies to be used for various pathogen identification. Third type of technologies which does not use thermal cycling or because the amplification does map isothermal technologies which are employed due to high sensitivity enabling earlier detection. CRISPR-Cas is being developed and being used during COVID through emergency authorization route is also companies are developing various technologies and various detection platforms based on the CRISPR and now platforms. So, what are the trends in MDX market? If we understand the companies, what uh, their strategies, one companies such as Biomirix and Qiagen are developing lab-on-chip technologies using microfluidics to enable rapid, sensitive, and improved accuracy with reduced sample volumes. Most of the companies, including Roche, are developing automated multiplexing detection system, which help in scaling up of pathogen identification. Advancements to improve epigenetic and population analysis for early detection and personalized treatment. Whereas in Illumina are working to develop platforms for epigenetic and intelligent detection. Most of the Indian players are developing point-of-care diagnostics that enables rapid and outside traditional lab testing. Of course, most of the companies are incorporating artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms into their detection platforms to improve detection accuracy and precision uh, detection. We try to analyze the MDX market by product type. Reagents constitute 70% of the market because of their repetitive use in every test. Reagents such as enzymes, primers, probes, they are used in every test of molecular diagnostics, enabling higher share of the market. Equipment constitute 25% of the market because there is a one-time purchases and high cost for the individual. Of course, most of the manufacturers are providing various financing options such as leasing or renting these expensive devices. Services and softwares which help in analyzing of the test results constitute around 5% of the market because of the supporting role in the overall diagnostic process. Companies are incorporating AI and ML tools for these softwares for quick detection and analysis of the test results. And the opportunities of molecular diagnostics in developing and emerging markets. In developed countries, opportunities exist because of established healthcare infrastructure, increased funding for research and development, many grants from the NIH and NHS for novel diagnostic testing, favorable reimbursement policies. Most of the health systems in the developed countries provide reimbursement for these molecular diagnostic tests, high penetration and improved maternal and fetal testing. Of course, opportunities among developing countries include uh, focus on advanced technologies and rapid growth in MDX instrument post COVID-19. So the governments across emerging regions and developing countries are having infrastructure post COVID and are funding to improve the molecular diagnostics. Also, some of the infectious diseases such as TB have high prevalence in emerging countries, which is an opportunity for molecular diagnostic testing. The global foundations such as UNICEF, WHO, and other foundations are boosting screening efforts, mass public screening efforts for emerging infectious diseases through molecular diagnostics in developing countries. So these are the opportunities for the MDX market in developing countries. With the opportunities, definitely there are challenges. To understand the challenges, first, uncertainties of the regulations for MDX in the developed countries, but specifically in the Europe, changing of IVDD to IVDR regulation, which we'll speak later. Next, stringent regulatory environment in the developed countries, in the US and Europe, and advanced products such as SAMDs face stricter regulations. Securing sensitive and genetic health data Companies complying to these strict data protection regulations is also a challenge for the companies, and implementing the next generation sequencing informatics or informatics for analyzing the test results is also a challenge for the developed countries. Whereas in the developing countries, the major challenge is the cost of equipment and reagents, high cost of equipment and reagents, unfavorable reimbursement, limited or low reimbursement available in most of the emerging countries for these MDX, where the patients have to pay out of the pocket. Lack of quality and standardization in molecular testing. There are no clear guidelines in many developing countries, non-clear regulatory frameworks, hindering the approval process of these new MDX technologies. Of course, less awareness to prescribe the MDX technologies rather than the conventional testing methods by healthcare providers. We'll move on to the next section of regulatory landscape. Any doubts? Should I continue with the next section?
None as of now.
Oh. So, if you understand the regulatory landscape of molecular diagnostics market, uh, these most of the MDX devices are regulated as IVD devices. In the USA, FDA, with the help of Center for Devices and Radiological Health (CDHR), regulates the molecular diagnostic devices. The devices are classified either as Class 2 or Class 3 based on the complexity of the device or complexity of the pathogen being tested. Generally, RT-PCR and multiplex PCR system falls under Class 2, whereas NGS tests for oncology under Class 3. 510K or pre-market notification is needed for moderate to low risk devices, whereas PMA, pre-market approval needed for high risk devices. In UK, MHRA regulates the Indian devices categorized in the next two under list A or list B. List A for uh, moderate uh, severity pathogens, and list B for high infectious disease pathogens. Regulatory approval is through CE marking or UKCA or then UKNI based on the specific regions. Europe, EMA regulates the molecular diagnostic devices. Again, the MDX devices is classified either as Class C PCR testing and companion diagnostics, and Class D for RT-PCR and other highly complex or high infectious disease testing. CE marking registration is needed for marketing the devices. So, as discussed, there are, one challenge in Europe is the changing the regulations for the IVD or molecular diagnostics. As recently, the regulations European Union has established the IVD or CE regulations, which actually uh, all the companies need to comply with this new IVDR directive. As previously, before May 2022, the regulation existed in the Europe is CE-IVDD, and now all companies need to comply with these new regulations, has to recertify through the notified bodies. Of course, there is sell-off period where the companies have to comply with the new regulations so until May 2026, and some based on the device classification, some devices which are less complex or simple devices have time period under May 2028, but most of them devices has to recertify and comply with the new guidelines and regulations by May 2026, which is an additional burden challenge for the MD players in the Europe. If we move to understand the emerging countries and regulatory landscape in the APAC region, India, the CDSCO under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare regulates these MDF devices. Again, the devices are classified into Class C and Class D. Companion diagnostics and other oncology and infectious diseases fall under high risk Class D devices. Registration is needed for these Class C or Class D devices in India. Japan, PMDA under the Ministry of Health and Labour Welfare regulates these MDX devices. Of course, all the devices related to microdiagnostics, including PCR, NGS, falls under Class 3 and pre-market approval, shown term that's one is needed for the Class 3 devices. China National Medical Products Administration NLPA regulates the MDX devices. All MDX devices falls under Class 3, and medical device registration certificate is needed, or registration of the medical device is needed for the molecular diagnostic. Of course, we're not going into the details of import, export, or local manufacturing regulations, but to explain in brief, if a device, MDX device, has been approved in US or Europe, generally no clinical trials requirement are needed. Once if a device has to be introduced in India, China, or even in Japan, uh, of course, if a device from the emerging countries they have to export into US or Europe. Of course, a local representative has to be employed who has to go through all the strict regulatory process. Even local representative is needed if a device has to be registered within China or even India by any foreign entity. There are increasing regulatory stringency for software as a medical device. The software which is used along with the medical device is being categorized uh, as per the risk level of the medical device. And US, UK, and Europe have strict regulations, or at least have a clear regulations, regulatory frameworks for software as a medical device, which need high quality management systems and clinical evaluation and validation of the software and even post market surveillance. Of course, emerging countries do not have a clear regulatory frameworks, but those countries such as India and Thailand are developing the guidelines for these SAMD devices. Moving on to the reimbursement scenario for molecular diagnostics, the reimbursement is favorable in the USA. The reimbursement carried out both by public Medicare and Medicaid services, and as well as private insurers in USA, including Blue Cross and United Health. For Medicare, a MolDX program has been developed to understand the criteria for reimbursement. Of course, private insurers have their own criteria for providing coverage. And clear CPT coding is also available for the reimbursement of medical diagnostic tests. UK, of course, favorable reimbursement both by the NHS and private insurers. Of course, majority rule by the NHS. Criteria, uh, there is a clear criteria based on the clinical effectiveness and cost saving of the MDX test. Germany also favorable reimbursement both by the public GKV and the private insurers. Of course, cost effectiveness and value-based outcomes are one concept put by major developed countries to for the reimbursement of MDX tests. And there are clear HRT or DRT codes available for the reimbursement. Uh, Try to understand the reimbursement scenario in Japan, China, and India. Japan, favorable reimbursement by Central Social Insurance Medical Council (CHIO), and there are even private insurers who are providing reimbursement in recent years. There are clear codes and there is a criteria for reimbursement based on clinical evidence and cost effectiveness. China limited coverage, low reimbursement or limited reimbursement both by public and private. India also no reimbursement or limited reimbursement by the public, private, and there are no set clear criteria or reimbursement codes for the molecular diagnostic tests in both India and China. It is challenging for high penetration of these tests. Moving on to pricing controls for molecular diagnostics, USA definitely is a public competitive market. Prices are set by the index manufacturers based on the market conditions, and there is minimal government control. UK also is a competitive environment. Of course, there is an influence of NHS on reimbursement decisions, and sometimes prices are negotiated between manufacturers and NHS. Germany also There is a price negotiation process between manufacturers and payers at least for the public reimbursement. Japan, CHQ or Central Social Insurance Medical Council sets reimbursement rates for these diagnostic tests, and the prices are reviewed and adjusted every 2 years. China, there's no clear process of price control, but the government tries to manage prices based on tendering process that considers manufacturing costs and market demand. And there is influence of provincial and local government or local governments also on the test prices. India NPPA regulates price of some medical devices, but there is no comprehensive price framework or control of these authority or specifically for MDX devices. Moving on the competitive landscape, the market is dominated by major players, constitute more than 60% of the market. Roche is one of the major players having a quarter of market share because of high investment in R&D, diverse product portfolio, and innovative molecular diagnostic products. Danaher, which has around 18% of the market, has a portfolio for infectious diseases, tuberculosis, and reproductive health. Thermo Fisher Scientific has around 15% share of the market with its high-end quality product, advanced technologies, and robust R&D capabilities. And other key players include QIAGEN, Biomerex, and others, which constitute around 40% of the market. Of course, the market in future, we expect the many small players to tap the share, to increase their market share, and the market will be more uh, towards fragmented in the next 10 years with many players entering into the MDX market. Of course, the major players have their own strategies and M&A acquisitions. Of course, all the major players, including Ross, Danaher, Thermo Fisher, uh, have been acquiring the other small technologies or other small companies and increasing their market presence and increasing their share, dominant share in this market. So recommendations to capitalize on the multi-diagnostics market in the emerging countries include expansion of strategic expansion of manufacturing expansion in the emerging countries in order to uh, be more accessible or affordable to the emerging countries in terms of the prices. Next, launching new products in high potential markets. For example, QIAGEN has introduced a syndromic testing solution in Japan for those countries' aging population. So launching the products based on the local demand. The companies may also try to launch NGX-based liquid biopsy products in MENA region, some of the countries where having high prevalence of cancers, various cancers. Next, companies should try to collaborate and expand NGS-based cancer testing, should collaborate with big healthcare providers and other health systems to introduce the NGS testing for oncology detection. And the company should leverage flexible leasing and rental models because of high cost equipment. Of course, many of the established players are following the approach of leasing their equipment for a fixed term, providing the reagents or costing per test. So the manufacturer should try to offer leasing or rental options for the equipment, especially in the emerging regions where there is no reimbursement, high cost to the end user. So this first section covers molecular diagnostic. In the next section, we will move on to point of care molecular diagnostics, point of care testing only with respect to molecular diagnostics. So how do we define point of care molecular diagnostics? It's a molecular diagnostic testing, testing the genetic material DNA or RNA at or near the site of patient care outside traditional lab testing. Why point of care molecular diagnostics? Because of operational simplicity and efficiency, quick turnaround time, rapid and accurate disease detection, uh, and which expedites definitive therapy, prevent unnecessary treatments, and support effective infection prevention. Currently, the point of care testing within molecular diagnostics holds around 12 to 15% share, 3.2 billion in 2023, and growing at a faster rate than MDX with around 13 to 14%, reaching around 6 billion in 2028. Key factors driving POC MDX market include high incidence and prevalence of infectious and respiratory diseases, technological advancements in POC MDX technologies, DNA sequencing, or isodermal technologies, growing patient awareness, rising healthcare expenditure, and advanced healthcare infrastructure in developed countries. Regional analysis, which POC MDX follows the same trend as MDX North America, accounting to 45% of the market due to advanced or established healthcare infrastructure and favorable reimbursement. Europe follows North America with around 30% of the market. Countries such as Germany and UK are forefront in implementing these POCMD technologies. PAC accounts for around 18% share of the market, definitely has very high growth compared to the advanced developed countries in the next 5 to 10 years. The large diverse populations, India, China, drive demand for POC testing. Rest of the world accounts for around 7% of the market. Of course, some countries like South Africa and Saudi Arabia are beginning to implement POC molecular diagnostics. Disease areas for the POC MDX, we have seen in MDS that PCR constitutes around 60 to 65%, whereas in POC MDX, sorry, this is on infectious diseases, 85% of the market uh, uh, is for the POC MDX, whereas only 10% is for genetic testing and 5% is for oncology. So if we have seen in MDX that around 60% is for infectious diseases and 20% oncology. But when we see the POC MDX, it's still greater share of infectious diseases and low share of oncology. Of course, genetic testing holds the same share of around 10%. So if we see what the major companies are doing in terms of POC, MDX, the major companies such as Cepheid is prominent for its expert technology expert platform. It's a leader in rapid POC molecular testing, have essential portfolio of FDA-approved tests, and the company Cepheid is currently working on advanced panel for multiplex testing and next generation sequencing platforms. Roche, which is very reputed for its COBAS system, COBAS layout of COBAS systems. It's a leader in diagnostic, strong portfolio of molecular tests and advanced automation and technology integration. Roche is currently working on developing gastrointestinal infection panels and respiratory flex panels on COBAS instrument, and also further developing additional clinical indications for NGS-based POC solutions. About which is reputed for its salinity ID now systems, has strong R&D capabilities, and now working on new assays for infectious diseases. So most of the companies are trying to expand their current area of testing or adding more clinical indications for their testing platforms. Of course, there are many other small companies, and they do have the marketed products of MDX products on COVID testing or infectious disease testing, and companies are working. If you try to analyze the pipeline products of all these small MDX companies, the most of the companies are developing products for influenza, hepatitis, respiratory infections, or FTA, sexually transmitted diseases, or Alzheimer's and neurological diseases. Let me focus on what strategies employed by these POC molecular diagnostic companies. One, customer education and training. Most of the companies are investing in training programs for healthcare providers to the effective use of molecular diagnostics or even POC molecular diagnostics. Strategic partnership and collaboration is one of the most important strategy employed by all the MDX and MDX POC companies. Companies partnering with health systems, partnering with healthcare providers, and even pharma companies to develop companion diagnostics. Next, accessing or entering into emerging markets, customizing their products, adjusting their prices to fit to local economies, and handling the regulatory challenges. For example, Danaher has penetrated into India market for its TB MDX testing. Competitive pricing strategies, as discussed, most of these companies are providing the high-cost equipment as a rental or leasing basis, and only providing the reagents as per test, costing per test. So, adopting different pricing strategies based on the target region is one of the strategy employed by these MDX companies. Companies are investing heavily in developing easier to use smaller portable devices. About Roche are all developing portable POC devices to be used with patient care, emergency rooms, and even pharmacy. And companies are expanding their POC test. Most of the companies are adding assays for respiratory diseases, SES, or syndromatic testing is one trending concept where all the genes for a specific syndrome are being tested as one panel. So syndromatic testing and testing multiplex testing is one trend that most of the companies are adopting and expanding their testing gene panels. Integrating advanced technologies, of course, all the companies are working on developing portable, miniature, easy to use devices by uh, using microfluidics or advanced biosensor technologies and integration with the digital health platforms using of artificial intelligence and IoT technologies to transfer the data instantly to the healthcare providers. So integration of the advanced AI technologies in their test analysis or data analysis is one uh, feature that all the major Indian companies are working on. So we have covered some of these, but yeah, to brief it up, what are the advanced emerging technologies in POC MDA? Is one microfluidics and lab on chip. Next generation sequencing, we know that next generation sequencing is mostly lab-based, automated, centralized lab-based. But however, companies are working on to develop a portable on-bench NGS sequencing, which could be used in the patient care of site, patient care. And CRISPR-Cas, though CRISPR-Cas is mostly started as a therapeutic technology, it is being used and developed for diagnostics as well, where it has got an emergency approval during COVID-19 for COVID testing, and companies are working, companies such as Mammoth Biosensors and Veda Bio are working on developing CRISPR-based diagnostics. And as we discussed, NAT technologies and other isodermal amplification techniques, other than the PCR, are also being developed for these MDX POCs. So most of the companies have one of the strategy employed by most major MDX players are either mergers or acquisition. These are few of the investments or M&A activities of the companies in recent years. Of course, once if you consider from 2018, there are a lot of acquisitions by Roche, Abbott, and Thermo Fisher. Even Roche has acquired Foundation One. So vertical integration to expand their um, stake in the value chain of the MDX testing from the devices to giving customized testing. The most of the companies are developing that vertical integration or acquiring the companies to increase their to expand their technology in different indications. So, a few examples here. The companies are investing in the molecular diagnostics in 2023 and 2024 as well. And as we said, many acquisition, Thermo Fisher has acquired Binding Site Group for 2.6 billion to enhance the abilities in oncology testing. US-based LabCorp, PGX acquired LabCorp acquired PGDX for 575 million to increase their capabilities for cancer treatment. Perkinel, one of the major players in MDX, also acquired BioLegend to increase the capabilities for proteogenomics and high content MDX. Biomurex acquired specific diagnostics, and Roche has acquired PIB Malware. These are recent acquisition activities in 2023, 2022, and 2021. Before COVID as well, companies are aggressive in acquiring different technologies, Roche and all other major players. This is to just highlight that most of the companies are acquiring the other small companies are acquiring technologies to increase their market share or to increase their technological capabilities. So finally, what are the opportunities and challenges in POC MDX? One opportunity is as companies during COVID-19 have developed different MDX tests for detecting COVID and other respiratory pathogens. Now they are leveraging that technology to expand their clinical indication to detect the other pathogens. So that is one opportunity where uh, there is an increased healthcare infrastructure even in emerging countries because of COVID-19. So there are existing market diagnostic infrastructure and testing platforms. So the companies can leverage that trend and increase their application of these molecular diagnostics for various other diseases. Next, there are some laboratory waivers, CLIA waivers. Of course, there are increasing regulation changing these waivers, but many POC market testing methods have received CLIA waivers, enabling their use in diverse healthcare settings. So companies are also taking this opportunity to have their test recognized as a CLIA waiver from FDA. Of course, there are challenges as well specific to POC. Balancing the accuracy and cost effectiveness is one challenge where generally the POCs are tested outside of routine traditional lab at the point of care or patient side. So considering the effectiveness and accuracy of these tests, and as we said, it is outside of the routine traditional settings. Impact of the environmental factors on the POC testing is also one of the challenges we noted. Uh, Yes, so this completes the discussion on the MDX and the related MDX point of view. Any questions, please let me know.
So, hi Ravi, this is Benjamin.
Yes, hello, Benjamin.
So, with the increasing demand for the rapid diagnostics in critical disease areas, such as cancer and infectious diseases, so where do you see, emerging technologies like AI and CRISPR play in the future of, molecular diagnostics and POC testing?
Yes, so if we see in 1980s, the trend is the development of PCR, and by 2000, PCR is more used in DX technology. And now, if you see in around 2000s, NGS was one innovation that was buzzing trend, and now by 2020, NGS is also most used. So if you see in terms of technology for diagnostics, now NGS is dominated by PCR. NGS is dominating PCR, at least if you see in the next pipeline analysis of all the products, because of its high sensitivity and comprehensive genomic analysis. And NGS can actually completely characterize a pathogen where PCR cannot. PCR can either identify a pathogen plus minus, but NGS can give a complete comprehensive characterization of the disease pathogen. So that is so most of the companies are trying to develop products based on the NGS because PCR cannot test some of the genes, or PCR cannot be used at least for some of the pathogen identification. And in future, definitely, we understand that companies are also working on CRISPR-Cas. So if you see the evolution of MDX in terms of technology started with PCR, now focuses on NGS, and future will be CRISPR-Cas and integration of AI or other non-thermal, isothermal based technologies coupled with this CRISPR-Cas. Not only one technology, maybe NGS coupled with AI or CRISPR-Cas coupled with NAP. So that could be the trend in the future.
Yeah,
Any other questions, please?
Um, Hello, sir. I'm Sally. So I have a question. So as molecular diagnostic technologies evolve, how do you foresee the regulatory landscape in the Europe and other regions, adapting to the support innovation while ensuring the patient safety?
Yes, so now there are clear regulatory frameworks for molecular diagnostics in the developed countries such as US and UK and other European countries. FDA, EMA, and others have proposed a clear regulatory guideline for these MDX tests. And because of increasing role of AI or CMD, software as a medical device, the advanced economies or the regulatory authorities in the US and all have developed even regulations for SAMD. So regulations are evolving in Europe also, as discussed in detail. The IVDT directive have replaced the IVDR directive, and all the companies how to comply with this new IVDR. The new IVDR directive re-notify their devices within a certain time limit. So there are increasing regulations every year, also releasing more guidelines and more. For example, during COVID, there is emergency authorization, which made accessible to all these NDXs within very low amount of time. So I think the regulatory authorities are working to lessen the time needed for approval of these novel MDX technologies. So regulations will be favorable, and also regulations will be very stringent considering the safety of these end users. And in terms of emerging countries, of course, the countries are now in countries like India, China do have some regulations. In India, Thailand, and others, they are developing draft guidelines for these MDX devices or SAMD, referring to these regulations of the advanced economies.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Anyone, any questions or anyone want to add anything? So there are no questions. So Samya, you take it over.
All right. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. If there are no questions, then we'll conclude our webinar for today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ravi, sir.